generations. But there's still, like I said, it's still a mystery. And George Stone Wilson, though, that was, big cattle people, and then it became the first guest ranch. Rita Hayworth stayed there, Tom Mix. It was, it was big time back in the old days.
Yeah, and we in the story we saw Buffalo Bill is a big part of his history right here in southern Arizona, Oracle. What can we say about Buffalo Bill and his adventures in this neck of the woods?
Strange. Most people don't even know he was here.
Yeah.
And he had a place down, and they tore it down now, right across from the Museum of Art. It's a parking lot now for the federal building, but he stayed down there with a guy named Burgess. And he was in Oracle. He was here. The Wild West show played here in 1902. They hit the fabulous vein of the mine with the iron doors supposedly in 1903. It was a solid vein of metal. And then all of a sudden, it's really strange. And back then, you didn't have the IRS, and you didn't have all these taxes, and you had to disclose everything. I have the secret code back with the telegraph, because he couldn't say we're mining gold or silver. He named all the mines after women and all the metals after states. And he goes, the Southern Belle is in Nevada today, and that meant that they was finding gold. And a lot of the stuff didn't get recorded. A lot of the history says that he lost a fortune here, which that is incorrect. They read a few letters that he wrote his sister about he got had. I say 3 times I found it in the records that people had pulled some, quick ones on him because he wasn't here all the time. But that comes with the business. It's, like we said, a gold mine is a hole in the ground with a liar standing next to it. And either a legend is a true story, too dangerous to be told, so it's told as fiction.
Wow.
In New Mexico, there was over 27 skeletons in a cave when Doc Noss found the treasure that all of this was about. There was over 100 tons of gold. Today, it would be over $12 billion.
Wow. And now Buffalo Bill, a lot of people don't know, he had a mill up in Oracle, and that's kind of where he
had a little cabin up there. Yeah. And they had the Millionaires Club, which is the 3C Ranch now. The Derrymont family's got it. They have weddings and guests. Beautiful place, terraced. And Cody, when the Wild West show, it got too rough back in the old days traveling. There was train wrecks after train wrecks. And in the wintertime, they got to where they just wouldn't put on the shows in the winter. And the unemployed actors that were in the Wild West show, he'd bring them down here to the mines and put them to work in the mines. And it was a lot better climate, like we've all found out. So it was perfect for him.
Yeah, and we even got a stone named after him, and which we'll show coming up after the break. But now this land that you lived on, and I kind of want to share the story of how you acquired this land from somebody, a guy, I think his name is Holly or something.
Burton Holly, the man that built Hollywood.
Burton Holly. There used to be Hollywood land, and he started that. Now, how did that come to be?
I got a kick out of the old man. I should have asked more questions and paid attention to him, but he goes, yeah, boy, I was the first man out there with a bulldozer, and I cut all them roads and put up big signs that said Hollywood Land Acres. Said a big rain came and the acres fell off, and people started moving in, and the land fell off, and he said they just called it Hollywood. And I kind of thought the old guy was, well, sometimes old guys telling stories, and like I said, I should have paid more attention because it was the truth. I found a thing later which showed the Holly land tracts for $400 to $100 for 40 acres in Wilshire Boulevard.
Wow. And one more thing I want to ask you about, we saw in the video, the hole in your living room. Now, did you start digging that, or
yes, sir.
And when did that start, and why?
Well, the story said that the Indians had buried the gold in a place befitting the white man's God. So the church, right? I go around with a sledgehammer, and there's little 4-foot squares of concrete, and the one in the middle was hollow. So I busted it out and started digging, and it looks like that it's not natural, because there would have been stratus if you look in at where the waters had washed and everything. And that floor that we hit, I think that's a ceremonial mine pit house, but we had one archaeologist that's been nice and came online, and we're still waiting for more people that, can really tell us. And the bad part is there's nobody left around that said, yeah, we was here, that's what it was. And all this stuff costs money. The one archaeologist that come online is $75 an hour, and he comped us and donated his time, because this is, it's pertinent history that right now the cuts on everything, it's been kind of difficult, especially to get qualified people. And I don't think that there's really any bars of gold buried under there, but I do believe that there is a history of people that lived there without electricity, without gasoline, and I think this should be studied and it should be preserved. The little half acre we got, the development's all around it, and we're not ever going to stop that, but we should keep that one little half acre, and I've got over 1,000 artifacts that's with the collection that I had a contract with Lloyd Golder before Saddlebrook was built to look for the iron door and for any of the artifacts, and I've got almost everything, including a little silver bar, nothing big, just a little finger bar, but some copper quotes they called them, and it puts a good portrait, it paints a good portrait. When I did the gem show, I had an educational exhibit there for 6 years, and here's all this polished glass and shiny stuff, and then my stuff, which was all this old, really garbage, it was old tin and stuff. The kids went right straight through it because they knew it was real. This other stuff is man-made and shiny and flashy, but this old stuff, I don't know, for some reason it interests me, and the kids seem to love it. That was the greatest thing I got out of it, was seeing how the kids loved it, and their dad was there going, well, look, there's a book on it, you can get it at the library, it's about our mountain up here. And, that's the thing. There's been 4 major motion pictures. This is a literary and a film adventure for everybody to share.
Now we're talking about the legend of
The Mine with the Iron Door.
Mine with the Iron Door, okay. The movies made about this.
The first one was filmed there in the Guest Ranch in 1924. It was one of the first westerns filmed in Arizona. And then it was done again in 36 in Hollywood, done 55 as A Secreted Treasure Mountain with Raymond Burr, one of the only 2 westerns Old Ironsides did. And then McKenna's Gold, Gregory Peck, Omar Sharif, Telly Savalas, Edward G. Robinson, Burgess Meredith, Keenan Wynn, was an all-star cast. But that was just about the last of the big westerns.
Wow.
And
like we said, the foundation has been assessed to be 1,400 years old, at the least. But so it seemed obvious that something might be down there under the floor panels. And have you found anything down in there?
I found bones, man. It scared me. That's when I went to the U, and we've been trying to get graduate students or somebody that has the time to come out, and that's why I stopped the excavations until we find somebody can tell us, I don't want to disturb it.
Yeah.
The trench you seen, that had already been disturbed, and we found a lot of nice artifacts. Spanish pottery, slag, old dolls, bottles, conchos, and enough to write a whole chapter in a book.
Yeah, and the plows we're looking at now with all the rounded rocks, there seems to be a plethora of those stones out there.
Yeah, but can you imagine carrying that stone bent over all day going like that? And then what's amazing was all of them canals took kerns, and every time it curved, it would silt up. And the people worked together without any form of organization going, hey, you work there, you work there. They knew if they didn't keep working together, and if that irrigation thing flowed over, then they wouldn't eat. And that was you will never have a prehistoric mining community that doesn't have a prehistoric agrarian community to support it. Because this desert, there's no Circle K's back then. You aren't going to farm without, or live without farming. Back then they had it there, so that was really important.
Okay, we're going to take a quick pause right there because that's a good place to do so. But coming up after the break, we'll show you some of the gold and silver we have here in front of us that Flint Carter has found, plus more on the legend of the mine with the iron door. Fact or fiction? Flint Carter has some insight when we return.
Josh Benson